Okay. Good morning, students. My name is Suvas Vora, Assistant Professor of Electrical Department at Sri Swaminarayan Institute of Technology. So, we are already start with the second chapters, and we can learn about the disasters management. In the last lecture, we can see the definitions of the disaster management. Then after the different disaster management like the geological disasters with the examples, then after the hydro-meteorology disasters, then after biological disasters, terminological disasters, and man-made disasters. Then after we can see that what is the definition of the geological disasters, then after the what is the earthquake, then measurement of the earthquake. So basically we can study the measurement using of the seismograph. Then after we can learn about the graphs of the measurement of the earthquake. Then after causes, effect, and the type of earthquake. So then after we can see that the landsliding. What is the landsliding? Then causes, classifications, and how the working, what is the different type of the landslidings, rock slidings, and everything. So today's topic is hydrometeorological, and the today's topic is tsunamis and cyclone disasters. So now start with the tsunami. We know that the tsunami, what is the tsunami? So tsunami means the series wave the series wave of caused by the violence wave movement on or near the sea floors. It means that we can say that the tsunami is the generated wave have the extremely long waves. You can see that the figures extremely long waves length at the wave period. So this one is wave period means intervals. So this one is called the tsunami. In another way we can say that the wavelength is open oceans of the order is, it means we can say says that 100 to 150 kilometers, 100 to 150 kilometers of the tsunami will be traveled. And the tsunami travels, it means जब tsunami start होता है तो वो approximately travels with the 640 to 960 किलोमीटर पर आवर travels करता है. It means that the tsunami will be travel with the 640 kilometers to 960 kilometers, and the speed of the tsunami is 747, and this is called the jumbo jet tsunami. The wave period approximately 5 to 90 minutes. So this one the basic informations of the tsunami, how the identify the tsunami and the nominal waves in oceans. So effect can the range from the breaking wave and the fast moving tidal is a notable ripple. It means that they will affect the oceans. So now we can also says that the relations among the period properties is very depending on the nature of the mechanism which creating the wave. you can see here the basic the wave in the peak, then after the wave through it, and this distance will become the wavelength. Basically we can the wavelength we easily understand the sine waves. Yes, we know the sine waves. What is the sine waves? The time period will be considered that sorry okay, the time period we can consider that the maximum peak to negative, then after the positive, this interval we can say that in the sine wave this is called the time wave. So this one ocean or the tsunami waves will be also considered that the wave, and this one is also called the high peak is called the wave heights. Now generally the ordinary wind waves affect only the surface of the oceans and is below the 150 meters surface. They cause the wind blows over the surface of the water and cause the water particles to move. It means that only the normal wind flow at that time the waves will be less or the medium waves, and cause the only particles of the oceans will be moved or the surface the oceans will be moved. Now the second waves is called the long waves. So long waves is, if I consider this one is the long wave movement and involve the movement of water all the way of the oceans is floor, and as a result their speed is controlled by the depth of the oceans. So how we can say that the depth of the oceans is dependent on the waves. So yes, this one sorry here this figure you can see that the depth of the water particles is depends on the surface of the oceans and the high peak of the waves. This is called the depth of the water particles of the interconnected. So the tsunami, basically the tsunami word is the Japanese word, and it's mean by the tsunami means the hard board waves. This is called the hard board waves. So basically the tsunami is unrelated to the tidals, although the tsunami can more destructive if the occurrence at the high tidals. So you can see that the basic tsunami length of the 100 meters, generally the ordinary waves will be affect only the 150 meters, we can already discuss that. So this one is the basic informations of the tsunami. Now we can learn about the what is the causes of tsunami. So the tsunami will be caused by the violations actions of the earth. It means the any changing of the earth's surface at that time the tsunami will be occurs, and these actions by the earthquake, then landsliding, then volcanic and asteroid impact, these four effects will be generated of the earthquake will be arise that. So first one we can say about the earthquake. So earthquake, most tsunami occurs due to the large earthquake under the oceans. You can see here if the epicenter of the earthquake is the center of the oceans, so at that time this one will be affect or the generate the tsunami. So earthquake occur when the slab of the rock are forced to move the past each other. It means this part will be changing the surface. At that time the tsunami will be occurs and the incorrect between the large tectonic plates, so which make the surface of the earth and the causes the majority of the earthquakes. When the sea floor move the suddenly during the earthquake, it can be displace the overlaying of the water. You can see that overlaying of the water and the large area of the sea floor are elevate or the subslide and tsunami can be created. So this one is the first causes of to generate the tsunami of the earthquake. Now the second one is landsliding. So landsliding that occurs for the underwater or the landslide that moves from the above sea level into the oceans and can disturb the overlapping waters and the generate the tsunami. You can see here we can already study about this landsliding. So in the landsliding the produce when the slope and the deposit of the sand meet because the two steps and the two steps and the material fell from the influence of the gravity. So that due to the gravity we can say that the landsliding will be occurs and the large periodic of the island which make up the Hawaii or the Iceland change the have and the react the geological times. So this one when the landsliding will be occurs at that time the force of the ocean's water level will be down and the someone is up and the tsunami will be generated using of the landsliding. Now the next one is volcanic activity. We know that the tsunami associated with the volcanic are less common. Those are from the earthquake but can still the disparate. Of course we know that the volcanic effect and the landsliding both are the peripheral to each others, and we know that the using of the landsliding the volcanic activity will be start from the tsunami. In similar way the astrological effect when the two-thirds of the earth is covered by the water and chance are that when the asteroid hits the crack it the land in the oceans. You can see that and the tsunami will be created by the astrological effect. So these are the causes of the tsunami. Now what to do and where to tsunami will be occurs. Generally the tsunami will be occurs of the Pacific Oceans because the Pacific basic surrounded by the most tectonically active zone. So how do you measure the size of the tsunami? Generally the tsunami will be one type of the hazards or the disasters and the tsunami magnitude will be measured that and the magnitude of the tsunami wavelength and the height of the surface to the high peak, this is called the we can measure the tsunami. You can see here the when the tsunami magnitude is 0 at that time run time will be 1 to 1.5 meters, then after the 1 2 to 3 meters, then second the 4 to 7, then third 8 to 15 meters, then fourth 16 to 31, and the fifth is the 32, and the greater heights or the meters will be tsunami will be measured that. So this one is the basic effect and the causes of the tsunami. Now the next topic of the today's is hydrometeorology disasters for the floods. So in the previous topic we can see that the last topic of the geological disasters. Now the next topic is hydrometeorological disasters. So first of all, what is the hydrometeorological disasters? What is the definitions of the hydrometeorological disasters? The process or the phenomenon of any atmospheric, then hydrological, oceanography, and the natural that may causes the loss of life, injury, and the other health impact, property damage, and the losses of the livelihoods and the service, socials, and this will be the damage. This is called the hydrometeorological disasters. So there are the different of the hydrometeorological disasters. Here you can see that the first one is flood. Flood is basically the similar to the tsunami, but the tsunami will be generated in the oceans, and the flood disaster is generated consider in the villages and the cities area. You can see the figures, we can easily understand what is the floods. So we can see that conditions that cause the flood include the heavy and steady rainfall, the several hours of the days that saturated of the ground. So the flash flood occurs sudden due to the rapid rising the water along the stream of the laying area. So this one is we can occurs using of the rainfalls. So now what is the type of the floods? So types of the floods we can say that you can here see that there are the basically three types: flash flood, river flood, and urban flood. So flash floods occurs within the 6 hour and mainly due to the heavy rainfall associated with the towning and clouding, then the tropical cyclones, and during the passage of the cold water front and the dam failure, and also we can that the river obstructions. So these type of fluids require the rapidly localized warning systems. So this one is the flash flood. Then after the river flood, so river flood we can say that the flood caused by precipitations over the large climates area. It means that the melting of the snow and both rainfalls so built up the slowly or the regular basis. These floods may continue for the days or week. So the major factors of these floods are moisture, vegetation covers, then the depth of snow and size of the climatic basis. So this one is the river floods. Now the next one is the urban floods. This is called the urban floods. Land is covered from the agriculture field and parking lots. It losses its the ability to the absorb the rainfalls, and the urbanizations decreasing the ability to absorb the water 2 to 6 times. Yes, 2 to 6 times over the ruled over the natural trends. So this one is the urban floods disasters, or the urban floods is the types of the floods disasters. So this one is the effect of the, or the types of the flood disaster. The another will be coastal floods, then ice jam, and also the glacial lake outburns floods are the examples of the types of flood disasters. So now characteristic of the flood disasters is depends on the depth of water, durations, velocity, then after the frequency of occurrence and the seasonality. Now start with the depth of the waters. So building foundations and the vegetations will be have the different degrees of tolerance. This bring the inundated waters. So this is called the depth of waters. Then the durations. So durations means the damage to the structures, infrastructures, and related to the durations of the one of the time with the water influences. Then after we can see that the what is the velocity. So velocity will means the high velocity of the flow create the erosive force and generate the force and the hydrodynamic pressures which destroy the foundations, supports, and many and may occurs the flood plains or the river channels. So this is called the velocities. Then after the frequency of occurrence. So frequency of occurrence measure the over period of time, determine the type of the constructions and the agriculture's activities of the floodplain. And the last one is the seasonality. It means that the flooding during the growing seasons destroy the crops, while the cold weathers flood and seriously affected with the community. So these are the characteristics of the floods. Now what is the primary causes of the floods are intersect rainfall when the river is flowing full, then after the cyclone and very intensive rainfall, then after the synchronization of the flood peak and main river, then after the landsliding leading to the obstructions of the flow and the change in the river courses, the poor natural drawing system. So these were the primary causes of the floods. Now the what is the safety when floods will be occurs. So here we can study the before and the during of these floods. Now the before and the during, you can, your family's members should be know the safe routes to nearest the shelters or the pakka makans. It means that when the floods will be occurs, you can go to the terrace of your house and the hilly areas of the nearest your houses and residences. If your area is the flood prone, consider the suitable flood resistance building materials. Then the turn or the local radios and TV for warning and advice what to do and during the floods or emergencies regarding. Then be careful of the snakes and the snakes bites and the common during the floods. What is the after of the floods? Packet warm clothing, then the essential medical kit, then valuations, personal papers, and it will be used for the emergencies given to the peoples. Then after the rain rise the furnitures, then the clothings and etc will be putting, then turn off the main electricity power supply. When the floods will be occurs at that time, the electrical shock will be very dangerous for the all over the areas. So do not give into the water unknown depth and the current, and do not allow the children to play near to flood waters. So these one are to remember that after doing the floods. Now what is the cyclones? The next one is the cyclones. So cyclone is general term for weather. So what is the cyclones? Cyclone is general term for weather system in which wind rotate inwardly an area of low atmospheric pressures. For the large weather systems, the circulation patterns is the constructed clockwise directions in the northern hemisphere and the clockwise directions in the south hemisphere. So we can say that the typical cyclone, this is called the TC, also known as the cyclones. So in some days ago we know that the cyclone will be passing through the Gujarat, and this one is what is the generated. Basically we already studied in the school times, the cyclone will be generated when the low pressure generated in the oceans, and this pressure will be generated of the cyclone. So this one is the basic fundamentals of the cyclones. Now the classifications of the cyclones is the criteria follow the meteorological depth of the India. It means the IMD2 classified the low pressure systems in the Bay of the Bengal and the Arabian Seas, adopted from the World Meteorological Organizations WMO are the unders. So you can see the tables. When the low pressure area is less than the 7 knots, it means the less than the 31 kilometers per hour. Then depreciations, we can say that the 70 to 27 knot. Then after the deep depreciations, which the 28 to 33. Then after the cyclones, we can say that the cyclone storms is 34 to 47 knots. Then after the severe cyclone storm is the 48 to 63 knots. Then very saves the cyclones, this is the 64 to 119 knots, or the speeds is 119 to 221 kilometer per hour. And the super cyclones, we can say that the 1 knots and above the 222 kilometers and the above. So this one is the basic table for the classifications or the measurement of the cyclones. Now classification of the cyclones